Good morning, all those who love books, who are lovers of literature. I thought to myself the other day when I've been saying this, that all those who love good Christian literature, because I do talk about in my channel here on YouTube, not only secular literature, but Christian books. So, because I don't know anybody who talks about Christian literature here in YouTube, well, in BookTube. I know that there are people who talk about Christian books, but so anyway, I'm here. I don't really think I'm part of the BookTube community because I don't have anybody who subscribes to me in BookTube that I know of, maybe one or two. But it is a Friday morning here in West Michigan. It is 10:24 in the morning. It is September the 25th, 2020. Writing in my diary, I'm on page 906 this morning. Finished reading Leviticus, coming to the end of Leviticus. I'm on chapter 24. The duty of priest when out of public view in the holy place. Andrew Bonar quotes in his commentary on Leviticus, that thou mayest know how oughtest to behave thyself in the house of God, which is the church of the living God. The duty of priest in regard to the golden candlestick there in Leviticus chapter 24. So I'm almost out of the third book of Moses, Leviticus, the third book. How's it go? How's it go here? Let me see. The third book of Moses, called Leviticus. I'm on chapter 24. You have 25. You have chapter 26, 27, and then you're into the fourth book of Moses, called Numbers. So I don't really know what I'm going to read on Numbers. I have to look through my my books on Numbers. I don't know if I have anything on Numbers. So I'll be in Numbers at least by Sunday. So I read Leviticus, Andrew Bonar this morning, and I'm still reading in the afternoons The Life of Samuel Johnson by James Boswell. Slowly working myself through it. I'm on page 715 when Samuel Johnson is now 69 years old. I think he dies when he's 75. So I got 6 more years of the life of Samuel Johnson to read about. I finished the other night the novel Familiar by J. Robert Lennon, which is unusual for me to finish a novel. It was an interesting read. I would recommend the book. I wouldn't check it out at your library. Familiar by J. Robert Lennon. I ordered his novel, The Mailman, which I might get in the mail today. So I thought about talking about the book because it provoked a lot of thought a lot of reflection. I still might do that. I just don't know how to do it, but it was a very thought-provoking novel. It caused me to ask a lot of different questions. So yeah, it was only 205 pages. So I finished this. I read it in a week, I think. And then I came across a writer. His name is Rob Doyle. He's an Irish writer, and I've been looking at his novels in Amazon, and my wife has been going to the public library. Our public library is open. The Book Nook is not open. They're a used bookstore where I volunteered for almost 10 years. It's still closed. But my wife goes there because she has now she has 2 women's book clubs. She has a neighborhood women's book club and a book club that was started when she was working as a nurse at Holland Hospital. Now she's retired, but they still have that women's book club, and she goes there to get books. And when she goes, I asked her to check out the novels of Robert Doyle, and they didn't have them in the library, but I got them in a library loan. And this is one I got. I got another one that came in yesterday. His newest one by Robert Doyle, Threshold. But this was his first novel, Here Are the Young Men. And I've been reading this the last couple of days. I read it last night until about midnight. Here Are the Young Men by Robert Doyle. This came out in 2014. It says here in the back, meet Matthew, Riz, Cocker, and Kearney. They are just finished school and are facing the great void of the future, celebrating their freedom and their unpromising adult reality with self-obliteration. They roam Dublin, their own aims, the next drink, the next high, and a callow, fearful idea of sex. Kearney, in particular, pushes boundaries in a way that once made him a leader in the group, but increasingly makes his friends weary, like W-A-R-Y. When a trip to the United States turns Kearney violent fantasies even darker, the other boys are forced to face both the violence within themselves and the limits of their own indifference. Visceral and chilling, Here the Young Men marks the arrival of a formidable literary talent, channeling an unnerving anarchic energy to devastating effect. Now, I told my wife when I was reading this, it's kind of what you would expect writing about young people, young men, young women, adolescents. What is the young people facing anxiety and fear and dread about their lives and the meaningless, and everything seems to be empty, and they take drugs and they have sex, and it's kind of same old themes that you find in those young people, coming of age novels. And the writing is not really, it's a first novel, you can tell it's not really well written. So this was really well written, familiar, by John J. Robert Lennon. This is really well written. This is kind of, I don't know. But so when it comes to Friday reads, I probably will still read it. I'm supposed to get Threshold. My wife's supposed to pick that up today at the library. So I don't know. So I'm reading that. I got 2 books in the mail yesterday that I ordered new. Set the Night on Fire, L.A. in the 60s by Mike Davies and Jon Wiener. I had other books by Jon Wiener I picked up used at thrift stores. Professors, Politics and Pop by Jon Wiener. These are essays. And I picked up a long time ago Mike Davis, Late Victorian Holocausts, El Nino, Famines, and the Making of the Third World. Mike Davis has written a lot of books. I check him out. He's worth looking into. His books. He wrote a book called The Planet of the Slums. Mike Davis, Ecology of Fear. He's written a number of books, and he's worth checking out, Mike Davies. Jon Wiener, he's written books too. I have his book, The Social Origins of the New South. So yeah, check out this book, Set the Night on Fire, LA in the 60s, Mike Davis and Jon Wiener. And then I picked up this book, The Last Brahmin, Henry Cabot Lodge Jr. and the Making of the Cold War by Luke A. Nichter. Yeah, I like reading about the Cold War, and I like reading political biographies, and this one looked really interesting, so I picked it up. I also have been rereading Subversive FBI's War on the Student Radicals and Reagan's Rise to Power by Seth Rosenfeld. So I've been looking at this once again last couple of days. So yeah, The Last Brahmin, Henry Cabot Lodge Jr. and the Making of the Cold War by Luke A. Nichter. Set the Night on Fire, which is taken from The Doors, Light My Fire. Set the Night on Fire, LA in the 60s, Mike Davis and Jon Wiener. Was reading Leviticus this morning. Reading Here Are the Young Men by Rob Doyle. I finished reading J. Robert Lennon, The Familiar, If I Get the Mailman by J. Robert Lennon. Today I'll start reading that. Still reading James Boswell, The Life of Samuel Johnson. Writing in my diary, I'm on page 906 for the year 2020. And looking at Professors, Politics and Pop by Jon Wiener. This morning looking at Late Victorian Holocausts by Mike Davies. So these are my Friday reads. And I thought about going to thrift stores today looking for used books, but I'm kind of burnt out, kind of exhausted. Yesterday, my wife and I, we went down the street to a garage sale and we bought some patio furniture for our backyard because we know we're having landscaping done this fall. And I picked up 2 cassettes, Tom Waits' Nighthawks at the Diner, and Ry Cooder, Crossroads, the original motion picture soundtrack. It's old blues, old Southern blues kind of music. I'm really a fan of Tom Waits. I have this in vinyl, but I didn't have it in cassette. Tom Waits. So listening to music, writing in my diary, reading Samuel Johnson, The Life of Samuel Johnson, reading about LA in the 60s, reading the Old Testament book Leviticus, reading Victorian Holocausts, reading about the coming of age in Dublin by Rob Doyle, Here Are the Young Men, finish The Familiars, The Last Brahmin, Henry Cabot Lodge, Subversives, FBI's War on the Student Radicals and Reagan's Rise to Power by Seth Rosenfeld, and just drifting through existence, feeling burned out, exhausted, drained, and weary during this COVID-19 plague, dreading the coming presidential elections. We're having Indian summer, and my wife is gone this morning having breakfast with her cousins. Next month our daughter will have her 4th child, so my wife will be flying out to Denver in the month of October. And so I hope you had a good week, a good reading week. You have a good new weekend. Hope you're all well, that none of you are sick. And I just thought I'd make a video since I'm here by myself. It's been 3 days. This is my Friday Reads. I'll sign off. And until next time, bye.